So today, you know, it is the last part of our session on your course, postgraduate diploma in sustainability science, and this is the last course, which is very important because after having a understanding on different concepts, principles, and approaches to achieve sustainable development as a part of understanding sustainability science. The course 7 is on challenges to sustainable development. Here in this, in your study material, will miss a number of important issues. As Luis mentioned in one other session about why we are missing some of the important issues here. And if we look into the way this discipline is grooming and the issues we are studying and we are trying to understand, most of the issues are very challenging and dynamic. So we teach single-use plastics is also one of the important issues, particularly from the last 10 years. It is very important to understand it. Because if we look into the way we are utilizing our resources for our own benefit, sometimes we neglect that very important and basic issues of management, and that brings a chaos in maintaining the process and a different way of its utilization pattern. So when you see this single-use plastic as a topic, and since it is not already there in our study material, you will feel that it is out of the study syllabus. But in fact, it is not out of syllabus. I would like to request to all of you that if you look into the different online counseling session which we are continuously conducting, attended by all of you, few of the counseling sessions are out of that syllabus. The reason behind that is we need to update some of the data, some of the issues, and new issues, a new problem, new approaches coming up. That's why we are sharing through this mode of counseling. So it is also part of the syllabus, and from examination point of view also, some of the topics may come up in form of application, analytical component as a analytical approach of understanding principles when we evaluate the students' performance. So this particular picture, when you see this, it's very common. You know, the growth of use of this particular water bottle, where I've showing here, it is suddenly we'll find it is as one of the basic needs when you are traveling from one place to another. Even now it has become very important when you go to your office. I mean, it's a part of one of the key basics in going out from your home. When you see this, we don't care about what is written in that bottle. What is caption there? Different caption. So you will find out that crush the bottle after use. How many of us understand this or not? I have more doubt than what I understand. It is one of the data which was published in a national newspaper that was sometimes around October 2019. It shows a figure about plastic waste. Here we'll see India alone generates 25,940 tons of plastic waste every day, which is equivalent to 2,600 truckloads. And of this, 1/6 of plastic waste is generated by 60 cities. And those 60 cities, 1/6, means half of that this comes from Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, and Kolkata. If you look into the sources of this plastic waste, you will find out these are very common in a place where density of human population is very high and lifestyle of the people staying there is also very different as compared to other part of the country. And single-use plastic bags, styrofoam containers can take up to 1,000 years to decompose. The last part, you also see the last point, right? So with this, now let us look into this single-use plastic, the global problem. In this presentation, I'm going to share some of the latest data which I compiled through a close literature review last year, October, November. So when we see the problem or issues or whatever you see, I have a first question to you. What comes first? People or pollution? Of course, obviously, the answer is people, right? Pollution never comes first. People come first, right? So then the question comes, what is pollution? If we look into that question, pollution is a product of consumption of resources by human. Then if it is the product of consumption of resources by human, whether we will be able to manage it or not, ask yourself and answer yourself. And when we talk about consumption of resources by human, for what we are consumption? Why we are consumption of resources is there? For our well-being. When we talk about our well-being, whether we consider our environment or not, that is also a bigger question. So if you look into these two important bullet point, when we ask the question of pollution, the answer coming in front of us is pollution is the product of consumption of resources by human, and human consume the resources for our well-being. So the point is, the point we need to understand is what? We need to understand is that is usually pollution is a last product of consumption of our resources for our well-being. So to maintain our well-being, we again produces pollutants. Then that pollutant has become a negative impact on us. So it has become a cycle. Then how it has become pollutants or pollution? If it is a production of the resources, consumption of resources, then we are consuming the resources for our well-being, then how it has become a pollution or pollutant? That is the question. Come on our mind is the answer is we are managing the output, the resources in a very different way. That's mismanagement without understanding anything, right? We have to assume in that way. Maybe we may be understanding, but the logic behind, if you look into simple logic, is we know it, but Simple logic is this is because of the mismanagement, because the products, the pollution is the product of our own activities for our own well-being. Okay. So in that way, how plastic has come in our world. Let us look into few of the slides we are going to share. We will discuss in that. When it comes to plastic, what is plastic? It is lightweight. When we use the plastic, the purpose of use plastic is it is lightweight, hygienic, and some of the plastic have resistant material which can be molded in a varieties of ways and utilized in a wide range of application. Nowadays, you will see, even today, we know plastic is a problem. In that case, also, we'll find out 50% of your household appliances is from plastic. Utensil is also from your plastics, right? So it is estimated that 1 to 5 trillion plastic bags are consumed worldwide each year. We know the pollutant is there. It is a pollutant. Then decomposition takes a lot of time. It has a direct impact to the ecosystem. But still, we are producing 5 trillion plastic. I mean, we are utilizing 5 trillion plastic bags each year worldwide. 5 trillion is almost 10 million plastic bags per minute. If you tie together, all these plastic bags could be wrapped around the world 7 times every hour. So, see, you see the frequency and the magnitudes of this particular only 0.001% of the pollutants exist in the world. And if you look into its impact after climate change, plastic is the biggest hit to the future of coral reefs. The beautiful coral reefs environment is threatened. One of the major threats of coral reef is climate change. Next to climate and plastic, nowadays, if you look into a number of online social networking sites, in every paper, in most of the environment forum, you will find out the mixture of plastics waste, which is the plastic which cover in the marine animal or inside their bodies. And that shows the magnitude of quantum of pollutants exist in the particular environment. Let us have a quick look into how plastic enter in our life. Because before we have looked into the reality of the issues, we need to understand if you want to manage properly, if you want to limit or minimize the pollution or minimize the production of pollutant, first you need to find out how that particular product come in our life. See, in this particular table, we'll see in 1839, natural rubber latex was invented by Charles Goodyear. Then followed by polystyrene, celluloid, polyvinyl chloride, plasticides, PVC. All this you have seen is still today you have seen in your household items. In construction, it may be in construction, it may be in day-to-day, utensil in the others. And at the red point, low density polyethylene, polystyrene, styrofoam, liner low density polyethylene. When you talk about using the plastic, these 3 important low density polyethylene, styrofoam, liner low density polyethylene, these are the major polymer types which we are using in the plastic in this stage. Then let us have a quick look into the life cycle of plastics. First, raw materials use, then it is processed. After the process, then the production is distributed, then use it, application, then dispose it. Then if it is not disposed, and if you follow the recycling process, come it again in the process. The question comes here, the intervention we can do is to minimize the pollution. What we can do is, in processing, can we replace conventional plastic with sustainable material? This is the first question, if you want to minimize it. The second is distribution, because as far as humans in the world, we'll find out one or other thing to benefit ourselves. In that process, we forget our environment, the value of environment, the value of nature. So when we have to use those products, how to minimize the impact on that is, as far as this plastic is concerned, and if you look into that life cycle, in this different cycle, we can intervene or we can modify the process of production or a process of distribution. Then last, how to cope the plastic waste in the environment. That needs to be looked into. Let us look into the production, because when we talk about the pollution or pollutants, it is very common that pollution or pollutants of a product, the impact started from the process. So in the production process, as I mentioned in this particular cycle also, then how to do it to minimize that impact. And first, let us look into the global production, how much quantity we are producing for our own utilization. If we look into the figure, plastic production increased by more than 24 between 1964 and 2015, with an annual output reaching 322 million metric tons. See, 1964 till 2015, how many years? Within 50 years, 24. Okay. The annual global plastic production rose from 2 metric ton to 380 metric ton between 1950 and 2015. So in 50 years, approximately 50 plus or 50 years, it was annual 2 metric ton, now 380 metric ton. So what would be the product of that? So it is projected that it will double by 2035 and almost quadruple by 2050. But reality is also there, because the plastic contribute to economic growth, but their current production use pattern is on a linear model. What is that linear model? You take it, make it, use it, and dispose it. This linear model of utilization of resources is very dangerous, and it's a primary driver of natural resource depletion. It is a primary driver of producing more waste. It gives more environmental degradation. As you know, climate change is one of the biggest impact of this model of resource use pattern. That's I told in the beginning that most of the resources come in our life for our well-being, human well-being. But by using this particular model of resource use, we have faced or we are having adverse human health effects because of this way of resource use pattern, right? If you look into historically, we'll find that plastic were mostly produced in Europe and United States. As you know, industrialization started from this particular two continents. And because of that, as you know, it is the fact is that they will be the first nations or the first continent who can start the use of any of the product, modern product. So like that, plastic were mostly produced in Europe and United States. Now, the unfortunate part is it is shifted to Asia. And China is now the leading producer with 28% of global production in 2015. If you look into, especially in India, you will find out any of the product. It may be toys, it may be utensil, it may be glassware, you will find out made in China. Very cheap. That's why 28% of global production is from China. And while the rest of Asia, including Japan, produce 21%, that means the Asian continent contribute almost 50% of the, in 2015, 50% of the plastics. So it is estimated that only 9% of the 6,300 metric tons of plastic waste generated between 1950 and 2015 was recycled. See, when you look into the the cycle of plastic production, there is an option of recycle. Not only plastic, whatever the product we are using, it can be recycled, most of the product. So we do not follow the process of the closed circle of that particular product, resource cycle. So we use, as I mentioned, that we use that linear model. So it only 9%. That's why the last 50 years, the quantum of plastic, whatever you use today, it will last, reach to a river, then it, at the end, after 10 years, it may be within 2 years, it may be 10 years, it will last, reach to the ocean. That's why today we have evidence that ocean has become a sink for all these pollutants, right? Fortunately, India has the highest plastic recycling rate, with estimates ranging from 47 to 60%. It is a study by Ricardo et al. In 2018. I also do agree in some contexts, because we have some, because of the social, hierarchy, is, we have our own automatic way of social system. It may be one of the region, right? Let us look into what are the global distribution of plastic. Here, that is the data reflect what we have, talked in the last this PPT. This is the dimensional representation in the map, the percentage of plastic production globally, right? Then the major issue is, as you know, the single-use plastic. What is single-use plastic? Single-use plastics, often also referred to as disposable plastics. They are commonly used for plastic packaging and include items intended to be used only once before they are thrown away or recycled. It's very common. India's wedding, it's very common in wedding season also. You will find that a number of people we spend a lot of money in our wedding, and in most of the time we use single-use utensil. It is from plastic. So we use single-use plastic in domestic, commercial, religious function and social activities. This religious function and social activities is very common in India. We do not have any particular season where we can have this kind of plastic waste will be in this particular month or not. We do not have. If you look into every day, even as compared to other country, probably we may be producing, in terms of this kind of reckless use of resources, we may be doing in this way that we may be throwing in more single-use plastic than other country. Though we have high recycling in quantity, in terms of quantity, we have high rate of recycling. Then Healthcare sector, this is also very important. Other single-use plastic other than that is, day-to-days, in day-to-days we are using grocery bags. We never have that kind of attitude or that kind of behavior that whenever you go to grocery bags, whenever you go for shopping, to take your own bags. Okay, the shopkeeper will give. Then food packaging, bottles, straws, container, cups and these are the product we are using as single-use plastic. If you look into the categories of plastic and single-use application, we will find out two categories. One is thermoplastic, another is plastic can be melted. We are using this particular main categories of plastic as single-use application, and of that we have discussed that polyethylene, then polypropylene, low density polyethylene, high. These are some of the thermoplastic that use in single-use application. Like the thermosets, like PU, polyurethane, phenolic resin, epoxy. These are some of the plastic which use in single-use application. Okay, I will not go in detail in here. Some of the main polymers used in production single-use plastics are, low density polyethylene. That's polystyrene, ethylene. That's I have make it a red mark. Polystyrene, high density polyethylene. These are some of the polymers used for single-use plastic. If you look into the quantum, means magnitude of the pollution under the category of single-use plastic, you will find out highest is cigarette butts, as we call microplastic, plastic drinking bottles. Because when you open that plastic, I mentioned you that there is a cap that written that crush after use. Then plastic bottle caps. Then food wrappers. See, in terms in order of magnitude. Then plastic grocery bags, plastic lids, straws and stirrers, other type plastic bags, and a from take-away containers. Right? And what is the impact? Before going into details, I would like to see this particular picture. The quantum of the impacts we brought the plastics for our well-being to improve. If you remember, most of the seniors who are here in this session, they know better than us. They have the experiences when 1980s and 1990s, when the plastic enters, it was enters as a purpose of hygienic and sanitation, right? Now that hygienic and sanitation has become another problem of two hygiene and sanitation. This was happened last year around September, October. Tamil Nadu Veterinary and Animal Science University on Saturday removed 52 kilograms of plastic waste from a cow's stomach in a surgery that lasted more than 5 hours. This hapless cow, and how much effort you have to give, how much energy you have to give because of our careless throwing of plastics. Right? So Let us look into a very quick look into what are the impacts in depth. Conventional plastic production is highly dependent from the process. Let us look at it. Dependent on virgin fossil feedstock that's mainly used in natural gas oil, as well as other resources, including water. Water is one of the today in one or other place of the world, across the world, we are having water scarcity. So it takes about 185 liters of water to make a kilogram of plastic. See, resources it consumed to produce 1 kilogram of plastic, it takes 185 liter. It sucks water. Next is plastic production uses up to 6% of global oil production. And when you are trying to increase the quantity of production, the expected this production, global oil production consumption will be expected to increase to 20% by 2050. And if you look into plastic-related greenhouse gas emission, it may represent 15% of the annual global carbon budget. So 15% is not a small amount, because when for your own health sanitation purpose plastic enter in your life, and what kind of impacts we are giving because of that. You just look into the study. I'm putting some of the studies conducted by different authors and scientists across the globe. The reality is that some of the plastic contain toxic chemical additives, including POP, persistent organic pollutant, which have been linked to health issues such as cancer, mental, reproductive, and development disease. And we're talking about recycle. Even that also, recycle cannot be done easily without understanding the characteristic of the plastic. So if you look into, even if you are staying in the city, you will find out in the fine winter morning, you will find out some people, some labor, some others, maybe they may warm up by using those plastics which are, lying, they will collect from somewhere nearby in that area, they will burn it and they warm themselves. So what will be the impact on their health? Because it contains dioxin. After it is burned, it will produce dioxin. It is a POP. We have to understand before we throwing out. So about 4,900 metric ton of the estimated 6,300 metric ton total of plastic ever produced have been discarded either in landfills or elsewhere in the environment. So when the population is increasing, demand is increasing, your production of plastic is increasing. So it is expected that 12,000 metric ton by 2050, unless if we do not take any action. As you know, ocean is already, we are whatever we are throwing today, in one or other day, it will finally reach to ocean. Before it reaches to ocean, it may consumed by one or other species exists in the water, or it will have another impact in your, particularly if we throw out in the soil, it will have direct impact on the that particular soil quality, degradation of soil. So most of this land-based discharge to the ocean originate in 5 Asian countries. See, we say that the continent of American continent, means US and European country, they used to be the top lead nation to consume, to produce the plastic. Now Asia is top. Then land-based discharge to the ocean originate in 5 Asian countries: China, Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. from the 10 rivers across Asia and Africa. Indus, Ganges, our Ganga is also here. Amur, Mekong, Pearl, Hai, Zelo, Yangtze, Nile, and Niger. The transport 88 to 95% of the global load into the sea. And the top 20 polluting rivers, mainly in Asia, it releases 67% of all plastic waste into the ocean. That's why I repeatedly mentioned that before we throw it, we have to think. One day, one or other day, whatever you throw, it will reach at least 1% to 10% will reach finally to the ocean. As I mentioned that after climate change, plastic is the biggest risk to the future of coral reefs. It increases the likelihoods of disease outbreaks by more than 20 times, threatening marine habitat that provide food, coastal protection, income, and cultural benefits to more than 275 million people. The point here is that when it finally reaches to the ocean, the impact is not only to those species it is to ourselves. It directly affect to our cultural benefit or livelihood, right? We have to understand this point. Again, I will say, not only quality, quantity matters in case of plastic. The amount of ocean plastic could triple by 2025 without further intervention. By 2050, there will be more plastic by weight in the ocean than fish. It will be, when you look this particular sentence, by 2050, there will be more plastic by weights in the ocean than fish. You'll feel very funny, but the reality, if we do not take care and we do not understand the model of resource consumption that take, make, use, and dispose, it will going to happen. About 330 billion single-use plastic carrier bags are produced annually, often just few hours before being discarded into the environment. When you order a food, it may be in your restaurant, 5-star hotel, 5-star restaurant, or it may be online. When that delivery boy or when they serve it, you will find out it will be covered with a thin plastic that is single use. It produces power for using for a few seconds only. The impact is too big. For writing only few seconds, then it impact 100 years. As you know, plastic stays in the environment for a long time. Some take up to 500 years to break down. This causes damage, harm, biology. These are the impact which we are discussing. So we have to understand this particular point. So finally, whatever you produce, the plastic has huge negative impact to the environment. That final impact to our health. If you look into when most of us are staying in urban area, you will see a significant proportion of disposed plastic end up in municipal solid waste. In many developing countries, inadequate or informal waste management system means that waste is usually burned in open dumps or household backyard, including in cities linked to the top 10 rivers which transport plastic waste to the sea. This is reality. If you look into any of the dumping ground, landfill area in Delhi NCR region, you will see every month, it may be even in the rainy season also, you will see the burning is there. That is very open. So in the process of open burning or incineration of plastic, we can look three important negative impact. That's the fact that it releases carbon dioxide and black carbon, two very important climate changing substances. Second is burning plastic, especially containing chlorinated and brominated additives, is a significant source of air pollution, including the emission of unintended POPs, such as chlorinated brominated dioxin, furans, and chlorinated biphenyls. And the third one is burning plastic poses a severe threat to plants, animals, and human health because toxic particulates can easily settle on crops or in waterways, degrading water quality, entering the food chain. That's why I again and again mention that directly comes in from one or other way, it returns back to our food chain. Means it comes to our food. What are the ecological economic laws? Many plastic materials that enter the environment will not remain stationary. That is the fact. Instead, they will be transported between environment and compartments. It's, from land, then it goes, when you throw your plastic in your environment, it will go to land, then rain season, it water tracks to the drain, then to the freshwater bodies or river, then it finally reaches to the marine environment. So with varying residence time in it. For example, the movement from land to river will depend upon the prevailing weather condition, distance to specific riverside, land cover, and tap. That is different. But if you look into finally some part of it reaches to the ocean. In 2014, UN Environment estimated the natural capital cost of plastic from environment and degradation, climate and health to be used US $75 billion annually. How much you produce plastic? What is the benefit of using plastic? And what is the impact of plastic pollution? Impact is US $75 billion annually, with 75% of this environment cost occurring at the manufacturing stage. A more recent analysis that in 2016 report, it says that it could be up to US $139 billion. You just look into the economic loss. In a United Environment Program report, 2018 report, plastic litter in the Asia-Pacific region alone costs in tourism, fishing, and shipping industries $1.3 billion per year. A simple example is, if there is you may have a famous recreation site, seaside, which was attracted for your tourism. If suddenly, or if there is more plastic pollution, you yourself don't like to go there. So it costs us, it goes to the tourism industry, it goes to the fishing. In Europe, meaning cleaning plastic waste from coast. See, this is no, when we follow the cleaning process, then also it costs 630 million euro per year. See, so most of the studies suggest that total economic damage to the world marine ecosystem caused by that plastic amounts to at least $13 billion every year. Then the question is, what is the solution? We know there is every stage of the cycle, it has one or other impact. It has ecological impact, it has economic impact. I have brought only few selected figure here. Yeah, and a number of studies on this particular area. Then what is the solution? Whether we have to ban it? If it is banned, what is the alternative? Then whether we have to manage properly. two important questions here. So you will see a number of organizations also works, working organization, government and non-government organization also working to reduce the use of those plastics. So this is some of the paper cutting I have taken. I have put that 2019 October in that time. So this is in a report of UNEF 2018. Its common measures to curb menace of plastic waste include partial or incomplete bans reduction strategies. Moreover, to tackle the roots of the problem, governments needs to improve waste management practices and introduce financial incentives to change the habits of consumer, retailers, manufacturers, enacting strong policies that push for a more circular model of design and production of plastics. So you just link that up what in the beginning, what we have understand the process of plastic life cycle, production cycle. Okay. So as a government, they must finance more research and development of alternative material, raise awareness among the consumer, fund innovation, ensure plastic products are properly labeled, and carefully vet possible solution to the current crisis. And what is circular economy then? The concept of circular economy aims to keep resources in use for as long as possible to extract maximum value from them whilst in use, and to recover and regenerate product material at the ends of their service life. This concept offers a circular process of inputs and outputs to ensure materials and resources remain in the production and consumption process. Okay, this is the concept of circular economy. And if we this circular economy model, if we look from the plastic point of view, the principle is design out toxin, waste, and pollution. Keep products and materials in use in a cycle way, regenerate natural system. Right? These are the principles. Some of the suggested approaches are plastic from the alternative feedstock. We have to produce plastic from alternative feedstock. Plastic waste should be used as a resource. Redesign and innovation in process of production process and management process. Business and consumer cooperation is important. These are sustainable business models should be there. Robust information platforms should be there. Policy instruments is very important. So let us have a quick look into approaches. Plastic from alternative feedstock. So reproducing plastic from alternative feedstock, including bio-based sources such as sugarcane, oil, cellulose, as well as from greenhouse gas, sewage, sludge, food waste, and naturally occurring biopolymers. We can produce plastic. Instead of using those polymers, we can use bio-based polymers, right? Use plastic waste as a resources. Using plastic waste for the manufacturing of new plastic or conversion into other valuable products. Okay, that's why we're talking about. We have to understand the cycle of that manufacturing process of and use, manufacture, use, and that recycle process. We need to understand that to implement this. Example, bricks and composites. Nowadays you must have heard about in Bangalore. If I'm not wrong, it was Bangalore. They use plastic that is used to construct the road. That's here. Roads have been built from plastic waste. This link you can look. Clothing and footwear also there from the plastic waste, right? Then redesign innovation is also important. Production of plastic product to enhance longevity, reusability, recycling, waste prevention by incorporating after-use assets recovery and waste and pollution prevention from the onset, from the beginning itself. Some of the things we need to understand is, whenever you may be buying that shampoo, You may be buying any of the hygienic product which is filled in your plastic bottle. It may be so we need to, it is better to buy your personal care product with refillable plastic containers. Sometimes you can, it is better to, instead of buying 250 gram or 500 gram, it is better to buy, depending on your size, or depending upon the particular product, you better to uh, suggest to buy in bulk. Second, another approach is business and consumer cooperation is important, because cooperation between businesses and with consumer, whereby byproducts or waste from one industry or consumer become raw material for producing new product. That is very important. Example of urban industrial symbiosis exists in China and Japan, highlighting environment and climate benefits from the recycling of plastics. This is also very important, the relation between this businesses or production industry and the consumers, because buyback policy should be there. Same way, sustainable business model needs to be implemented that promote product as services and encourage sharing and the leasing of products, thereby optimizing product utilization and decreasing volume of manufactured goods. Not here we have to note down that, for example, when you buy a new product, so instead of keeping your old product, you better to give back that in form of because a number of company, they started this kind of exchange. So you may feel that in exchange the value of my particular product is very less, you may feel, but it is we suggest it's better to follow that. And leasing water dispenser, these are some of the things we can follow. Robust information platform is also important, because this information platform will link industries as well as consumer to ensure the flow of data information on plastic. Where is the plastic? How? That kind of things. Information needs to be, shared among different business community from among consumer and the producers also, and that business people also. Policy instrument is also very important. As I told you, it is very important, because implementing economic policy regulatory measures as direct such as taxes, extended producer responsibility, mandatory requirement, and standard for circular eco-design, and a ban on certain plastic types. This is very important. And in this particular context of India's context nowadays, when we are promoting Make in India, as an academic, moreover, I would like to suggest that instead of giving a subsidy, I repeatedly raise this in different classes, that subsidies should be given where there is a minimal environmental impact. That should be promoted more. Some of the case study on policy instrument are Bangladesh phase out the use of light. These are some of the Rwanda, Bangladesh, Italy, Kenya. Then what are India's initiative? Beside the national laws, several states and cities have introduced bans on plastic carrier bags and other plastic materials. These are some of the laws. Ban on compostable plastic bags. That is 2016 latest. Also, they have updated that ban on the production, storage, use, scale, distribution, non-biodegradable plastic bags. Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim. There's some of the states they have already. In Karnataka also you will find, and the Punjab, then Haryana state, then in Kerala, then you will find West Bengal. These are some of the lists. Sikkim, I told you. Then New Delhi also 2017. Then 2018 plastic bag that is less than 50 micron in the state of Maharashtra. So what is our responsibility? What we did before plastic internal? When we talk about our responsibility, is my first question is what we did before plastic enter in our life. Before plastic enter in our life, whatever we are using the plastic product, but it was not there. Let us see. So let us try to replace traditional use of material. Milk edible oil we used to have in glass or metal. Now it comes in pouches, 3 or 5 layer film pouches. Toiletry soaps and shampoos, that used to be paper and glass, nowadays in what? Plastic pouches of film. Cement fertilizer, jute, it used to come in jute. Still, I remember when I was a kid. Now it is written polypropylene or high density polyethylene woven sack. Toothpaste, metal, now plastic laminates. So these are some of the references which I depend. I collected. I have a quick look into review of. I review all this paper for preparing this presentation, and I have looked into some of the website which I mentioned here to prepare this presentation to share with all of you. With this, I would like to open this for discussion.